This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
8 straight wins for your Milwaukee Brewers, and they do it in a statement fashion series opener in LA following the All-Star break. Welcome back in, Milwaukee Brewers fans, to the Locked On Brewers POSTCAST. My name is Brandon Snyder. You can follow me on X at Brandon_Snyder. Remember, wherever you get audio podcasts, you can get this very program. Apple, Google, Spotify, all those terrific apps, as well as over on YouTube. Go to that search bar, type in Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button, get notified when we go live, hit that thumbs up button. And what a game to talk about today as your Milwaukee Brewers beat the LA Dodgers out in Los Angeles by a final score of 2-0. Quinn Priester on the mound, putting a lot of Brewers fans back in their seats with some people talking about that trade back a few months ago that Matt Arnold conducted, and Quinn Priester making Matt Arnold look very, very smart. We'll talk about his performance throughout the course of the show. Caleb Durbin carrying the offense for your Milwaukee Brewers. We'll get to the scoring summary here shortly. In the 8th straight win now for our Milwaukee Brewers. I had a listener correct me and saying I can say our Milwaukee Brewers. 8th straight win following a little bit of a break. We all talked about maybe the All-Star break coming at a bad time for this Milwaukee Brewers team, but boy, tonight did they look fantastic. Offensively, getting some key runs in. We'll talk about the scoring summary here in a second. Defensively, pitching with Quinn Priester. The bullpen looked fantastic. The Milwaukee Brewers, now the only team in baseball with multiple 8-game win streaks. If you remember all the way back to the middle towards the end of part of May, where their season really got turned around. And you go back to May 17th, and that's going to be a bookmark here for the Locked On Brewers POSTCAST audience. May 17th, they were dead in the water, 4 games under 500. And since then, 36-15, the best mark in baseball are our Milwaukee Brewers, which includes a 2-0 win over the Dodgers in LA to begin a 3-game series out west. 57-40 on the season, 17 games over 500. The Cubs also winning today. So more importantly, in the NL Central, the Brewers are able to at least, remain in the race for the top spot in the NL Central, with the Cubs winning, the Brewers winning as well. A couple more games out west between the Dodgers and Brewers, and then Seattle, and then before the Brewers make their way back. But let's get back into the game that was tonight. The scoring summary today brought to you by Gametime and Game Day Hugh. And it all begins with Caleb Durbin in the 5th and in the 7th inning tonight. He would double to left field. That would score Isaac Collins in the 5th inning. And in the 7th inning, Caleb Durbin, a absolute dart to center field for 410 feet. That would give the Brewers a 2-0 advantage. And with Quinn Priester on the mound tonight, that is all that they would need in a remarkable game out of the All-Star break for your Milwaukee Brewers. A statement start to the second half of the season. And without further ado, there are some of you already tuning in. And remember, if you're listening to the Locked On Brewers POSTCAST over on YouTube, your thoughts, your reaction, always welcomed on the program. We will get to all of those comments. And some of you are already picking the player of the game. I see a few of you with Caleb Durbin. Let's get into your player of the game. And it's going to sound a little bit like a cop-out tonight, but it has to go this way. And a 2-0 Milwaukee Brewers win.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Look, guys, if you pitch against one of the best offensive lineups, and the Dodgers are one of the best offenses in baseball, right behind the Chicago Cubs, and you go to LA, and out of the gates in the second half following your All-Star break, a quick 5-day break here, and you toss up double-digit strikeouts against one of the best teams in baseball, and you go 6 innings and you don't allow a run, and you do it by throwing less than 80 pitches, you're going to get the co-player of the game. And it's going to sound like a cop-out because that's what it feels like a little bit here. But you got to give 2 MVPs out tonight for our Milwaukee Brewers in a 2-0 win against the LA Dodgers. The Brewers 8 straight in a row. They've beaten the Dodgers 4 in a row. We'll get to some of the numbers between the Brewers starters here, between Quinn Priester, Jose Quintana, Jacob Mizorowski, and Freddie Peralta against the Dodgers. We'll get into that. The other side of the MVP tonight has to go to Caleb Durbin, because he is all the offense for you in a 2-0 win. We talked about the scoring summary with the double to left field in the 5th, and then the solo home run in the 7th. After Caleb Durbin hit that home run in the 7th inning, I don't know about you guys, but for me, the way that this game was going, the energy or the lack thereof that the Dodgers were displaying, I kind of was prepping myself for a victory tonight for our Brewers, because I felt good about the rest that this bullpen. Look, we had talked about guys like Jared Caney and Abner Uribe, both who got appearances tonight on the mound for your Milwaukee Brewers, who both tossed up, obviously, scoreless innings as the Brewers shut out the Dodgers and allow only 3 hits throughout the course of 9 innings tonight over a span of 4 different pitchers. You feel good about a 2-0 advantage with the bullpen that you have set up. And I know Abner Uribe has had his, moments throughout this season. He leads Major League Baseball in holds. Jared Caney, I know a lot of people were, a little bit upset about him a couple weeks ago. Jared Caney continues to be one of the best arms out of the bullpen, not only for the Brewers, but in the National League. And Trevor McGill, once again, his 22nd save of the season after he looked fantastic in the All-Star game earlier this week. The Brewers get the win. Quinn Priester gets the win. 8-2 for Quinn Priester. And just a little tease ahead in the things you'll be talking about tomorrow. Quinn Priester proving Matt Arnold was right and knows what he's doing. Well, that's just a little bit of a tease going forward as the Brewers beat the Dodgers tonight by a final score of 2-0. We mentioned it, 57-40, 17, the high watermark for your Brewers, 17 games over 500. I know a lot of you got a lot of thoughts on this game. I know some of you have some player of the games, your own opinions on it. We'll get into that. Again, your celebrations, your thoughts, your comments, always welcomed on the Locked On Brewers postcast. We'll get into that. Some interesting numbers, some really, really good, interesting numbers if you're a Brewers fan, and I hope you listening to this program are, and all fans are welcome, but mostly Brewers fans. Some interesting numbers for the Brewers with their starting pitching against the LA Dodgers this year. Jackson Chourio continues his 12-game hit streak as well from your Brewers. Some good injury news updated. We'll get you updated as the show goes on. All of that coming up on the second half of the show right after this. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's a game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands, and that is exactly where Gametime comes in. It is the easiest way to grab those last minute tickets without any of the stress. Plus, the money you save on those tickets, you can now splurge on foods, on drinks, on any kind of merch, maybe a new Mizorowski jersey, or even invite a bigger group to come with you, and Gametime makes it all possible. They are the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB Brewers game. But we'll see when the Brewers come home here shortly. What I like about Gametime app is you can actually see where you're sitting. They got last minute tickets and zone deals. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account at Gametime and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. One more time, that's Gametime. Today's program is also brought to you by Game Day Hugh. Today's episode, once again, brought to you by Game Day Hugh. Not Gametime. It's also brought to you by Gametime, but Game Day Hugh. And so is this hat I'm wearing, guys, if you're watching over on the YouTube. For Brewers fans like me, this one is hitting the mark. It makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, no, just smart style that works on game day, on the golf course, or anywhere in between. And guys, it's just not the hats. It's summertime in Wisconsin. I know you guys are hitting the golf course, and if you are, you got to check out their split shade gloves. I got it over on the YouTube right now. Made for the golf course, perfect for the gift for the fan who has everything. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15, MLB15 at Game Day Hugh, H-U-E. Again, Game Day Hugh. That's GameDayHugh, HUE.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now is the time to load up. That's GameDayHugh.com/MLB15. The Milwaukee Brewers are getting their 8th straight victory tonight to begin the second half of the season. This one out in LA over the Dodgers. 2-0, your final. Quinn Priester, quite the performance. We gave him the player of the game, and when you strike out 10 batters, you toss 6 scoreless innings, you allow only 3 hits, against one of the best offenses in Major League Baseball, you got to get player of the game. Caleb Durbin also getting the honors tonight. He secures both of the runs for our Milwaukee Brewers. 17 games over 500, and things are just really clicking right now for this Milwaukee Brewers team. Going into the break and during the break, manager Pat Murphy had talked about it at length. This team is starting to kind of figure out its identity. It's not all there yet. And we have talked about those proverbial stars not all lining up yet for our Milwaukee Brewers. Again, really not tonight either, right? You had opportunities late in the game in the 8th inning and 9th inning to put up some runs, and the Brewers were unable to score, given guys in scoring position with less than 2 outs. So the offense still trying to find its way and get things going, but your starting pitching is just fantastic. And we're just going to take a small sample size here. In the 4 games this season so far against the LA Dodgers, a few more lined up throughout the weekend, the Brewer starters have 4 quality starts and a combined earned run average of .75. If you remember, Freddie Peralta, 6 innings pitched, didn't allow a run. Mizorowski, just a 1 solo shot off the bat of Ohtani. He went 6 innings as well. Jose Quintana, 6 innings pitched, just the 1 earned run. And Quinn Priester tonight tops it off, 6 innings pitched, 0 earned runs. The bullpen, as we have mentioned, sort of a strength. It has some wear on it, certainly. And guys, all-star break coming at a good time for the Brewers. Abner Uribe tonight gets the 7th. Boom, scoreless. Jared Kenyon gets the 8th. Boom, scoreless. Trevor McGill, one of the best closers in all of baseball, gets his 22nd save on the season, and the Brewers shut the doors on the Dodgers in a 2-0 win, get just enough offense, and things are starting to slowly kind of tick for your Milwaukee Brewers. I don't want to diminish the Brewers and use this, comparison in a way that may sound like I'm disrespecting the Brewers. But today was a perfect example of a David versus Goliath matchup, right? Goliath, you got Ohtani and Betts and all these guys, in the lineup for the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're out in LA. The Brewers are out west. The Dodgers got all the money, have the huge TV deals and all these contracts. And here come the Brewers, trying to, do whatever they can to score runs and night in and night out. And they do just enough, and they allow their pitching and their bullpen to carry them. And it was a fantastic performance from our Milwaukee Brewers, a 2-0 win. Before we get into your thoughts and your reactions, I would be remiss if we didn't do tonight's turning point in a 2-0 Milwaukee Brewers win.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Oh, I know what the open there says, where the game was won or lost. And this may not be true. Certainly can be argued that it's not true, but I thought, and again, I'm back on the Quinn Priester, bandwagon. I've always loved I love the trade. I love the pitcher, and I'll get into that later. But I thought Quinn Priester set the tone tonight in a very quick way for our Milwaukee Brewers in a 2-0 win. Striking out Shohei Ohtani, striking out Mookie Betts, and striking out Freddie Freeman to start tonight's game. And that's what happened for Quinn Priester. And that's where I think the tone was set for our Milwaukee Brewers. And then you score a few runs later in the 5th and then 1 in the 7th, and you're able to kind of allow your bullpen to take over. But for me, that is where I look at the turning point. I thought Quinn Priester, now the Brewers didn't win or lose the game in that bottom half of the 1st inning, but for me, it set the tone for the rest of the night for Quinn Priester, who after that inning would strike out 7 more Dodger batters. Guys, he finished the game with 77 pitches thrown. He could have went easily into the 7th inning, for tonight's action. But, with the rested bullpen, I think that was the right move by manager Pat Murphy. But Quinn Priester just absolutely setting the tone for our Milwaukee Brewers in that first inning, striking out the order. Let's begin with your thoughts and your reactions. We start with Cody. What a way to come out of the gates. Pitching perfect. Defense was great. And we win the season series from the Dodgers. Put that in the memory bank later on? Question mark. Absolutely. This team, we have mentioned it. This Brewers team can play with anybody. They have proven that. They just, with the other 8-game win streak that they have out back there in May, they got that off going by going to Philly and sweeping the Phillies. So this team can absolutely play with any team. I think that shows because of how they're built. Now, are they going to score 7, 8, 9 runs a game? No, but they're going to have those spurts where we've seen it during this 8-game win streak where they're able to put a crooked number up, and we've seen it, right? 6 innings or 6 runs in one inning, 3 in another, 5 in another. So they're able to, and guys, we've talked about this. They put a lot of pressure on opposing defenses, and that was the case tonight. Wasn't a offensive performance for your Milwaukee Brewers, who were 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position, but they had 9 guys left on base, right? They're creating stress on opposing pitching and defenses. Nick over on YouTube, part of our everydayers. Welcome back, Brandon. Good to be back, Nick. Just about went insane waiting for baseball to come back. And the little man that could, Durbin, player of the game, came to play. I don't care if the Dodgers are his slump, beat them 2 out of 3. Yeah, I think, going forward, you take the season series tonight. You have won now 4 in a row over the Dodgers, including in that 8-game win streak where things really got going in that game 1 against the Dodgers back at American Family Field before the All-Star break. But there's no reason to think that this team can't go and win another game in LA this weekend. A fantastic start tonight out west for our Milwaukee Brewers. Greens Farm over on YouTube. What an awesome win after the break. Setting the tone early. How many times, how many Brewers teams have we said going into the All-Star break, they've kind of fallen off a little bit. The train fell off the tracks a little bit. How many times have we talked about Brewers teams getting a little slow out of the All-Star break and kind of taking a little bit to get going? Tonight, completely the opposite start for your Milwaukee Brewers. 2-0 win over the Dodgers. Jay Andrews over on YouTube. Priester commanding every pitch. I don't know if you guys were watching the television broadcast with Chris Hook and Quinn Priester after the 6th inning. I don't think I've ever seen Quinn Priester smile as much as I've seen him smile talking to Chris Hook after his performance. And I think at that moment he knew he was done. He probably wanted to go back out there. But something has clicked with Quinn Priester since he arrived in Milwaukee. Like most of us that pay attention to this Brewers team and how they're built, and the strength is obviously at the core of their pitching, and that's led by Chris Hook. Everybody, I know for me personally, and here, let's actually do this without getting into it too deep. Let's get into the things you'll be talking about tomorrow in a 2-0 Brewers win.
This is what you'll be talking about.
A lot of you, and I put this on my social media account, X, formerly Twitter, at Brandon_Snide. A lot of you, maybe you're watching this program and this is directed towards you. Maybe it's not, but a lot of you, and there are a lot of you that were wrong about Matt Arnold when he traded for Quinn Priester. Quinn Priester spent time in Pittsburgh. We all know how that's going. I mean, look at Paul Skeens, who can't get any run support. He spent time in Boston, who have been up and down as an organization. When he traded for Quinn Priester, again, 24 years old, has all the talent, has everything, has these stuff. It was always going to be a little bit, right? You had to let him get into the Brewers organization, let him get under Chris Hook, let him get around guys like Freddie Peralta and Jose Quintana. And I know Nestor Cortez is now hurt, but these veterans, and let him kind of get into his role within this team, and he was going to flourish. Over his last 6 starts, he has a 1.6 ERA, guys. Quinn Priester does 8-2 on the season. Freddie Peralta has 11 wins. He's tied in Major League Baseball for wins. Quinn Priester is right behind him. He has been fantastic. A lot of you were wrong about that trade and the uproar that Quinn Priester garnered on social media after maybe a not so great start in Milwaukee. Again, you have to give it some time. Trust in Matt Arnold. They're doing the thing. Quinn Priester has been absolutely fantastic, and that includes tonight a 2-0 game where he tosses 6 innings of scoreless baseball. So again, a lot of you may owe Matt Arnold an apology, but again, I think he knows exactly what he is doing. Logan over on YouTube, this team is something special. People keep saying we need a bat at third base. I have to disagree. Durbin has the clutch gene. Excited to see how the rest of the series go. Over the last month, almost 2 months, actually, I mean, Caleb Durbin has been fantastic. I don't think there's anybody that's sitting here pounding their fist on the table for a left side of the infield outside of maybe shortstop, trade candidate. Caleb Durbin has been fantastic offensively and defensively. Woodworking Outdoorsman over on YouTube. Great performance by Priester, shutting out the Dodgers in their park. What a great start. Charles over on YouTube as well. Just a few more wins, and it's George Webb's time. 4 more wins for your Milwaukee Brewers, and they can get some free burgers from George Webb, and they're going to do it against the Dodgers and the Mariners. So we have an opportunity out west to celebrate this Milwaukee Brewers. Lots of love coming in for Caleb Durbin. Caleb Durbin continues to impress, one of those misfit toys not many believed in, including myself. And that goes also to the Quinn Priester talk. A lot of Brewers fans were not big on Quinn Priester. A lot of Brewers fans were not big on Caleb Durbin and had a lot of things to say about him, probably including myself. And the frustration is warranted, but I think he has, again, one of those players where he has kind of found his niche on this team and is now a little bit more comfortable, and he's not pressing a little bit, and he knows, what his role is on this team. Few more comments here before we wrap things up. Jason over on YouTube. Brewers rocking and rolling. Good start. Durbin and Priester excellent in today's game. Jason, you're the man, because those guys, Durbin that is, and Priester, getting our co-players of the game. And guys, it's hard, like, you can't pick one or the other. You just can't. If you guys are knocking me for picking both of them to be the Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game, I got to tell you, you don't win without Caleb Durbin tonight, but you also don't win without Quinn Priester tonight. Caleb Durbin knocking in your 2 RBIs to secure a 2-0 win, but Quinn Priester setting the tone, as we had mentioned, the turning point in this game, striking out the first 3 batters in the bottom of the first inning, and I think that set the tone going forward for your Milwaukee Brewers. I should say I got to get better at saying our Milwaukee Brewers. I apologize to the listeners that have told me that I can say ours. Tom over on YouTube. Should Blake Perkins be the everyday center fielder until Sal Frelick comes back? Leave Jake Bauers on the bench since he hasn't been hitting well lately. I think you're probably going to see a lot more Blake Perkins. And how great was it for Blake Perkins to come in tonight and bat 1,000 for the Milwaukee Brewers with the bunt down the third base line. And again, his glove out in the outfield is fantastic. So it's another tool for this Milwaukee Brewers team to kind of utilize in their tool belt. And I think you're going to see more of Blake Perkins as opposed to Jake Bauers, because at this point, you can't sit Andrew Vaughn. I know Pat Murphy has, and Andrew Vaughn, will maybe disappoint you tonight for the Brewers, who didn't have an RBI. It's the first game in his Brewers career that he hasn't had an RBI tonight. But I think you're going to see more Blake Perkins than Jake Bauers. Again, with the trade deadline also looming, none of this is set in stone yet. Obviously, the Brewers, I think, will still be active regardless of where they stand, and winning tonight 2-0, 17 games over 500. Now, still a game behind the Cubs, who also win this evening, but the Brewers are certainly going to be active, and you hope going forward. I did kind of mention about the injury updates. Sal Frelick placed on the 10-day IL, so that's retroactive to July 15th. So the earliest we could see Sal is July 25th. So it's a good time for Blake Perkins to get up here, as well as for Nestor Cortes, who also had a rehab assignment start in Nashville. 5 innings pitched, guys, just 1 run allowed. So he looks like probably maybe one more start, if you read in between the lines with Pat Murphy, for Nestor Cortes. So this team is getting healthy. They're getting better. I know the injury to Sal Frelick is unfortunate, but how nice of it is to have a team where you can slide in a guy, Bryce Terrain, in the leadoff spot, who was one of your best hitters throughout the first part of the season, in that leadoff spot, and really not really kind of lose a ton there. And I know Sal Frelick, and I made the case, should have been an all-star this year, or at least made a strong case for it. But you hope he's going to get better going forward, because this Brewers team is that much better going forward when obviously their guys are healthy. We're not going to see Probably not, well, definitely not going to see Garrett Mitchell anymore, but I would anticipate now that Blake Perkins, back to your point, Tom, now that you have Blake Perkins healthy, you'll probably see him slowly integrated more and more. He gets the role in the back half of the game today, the pinch hit, and then out there in the outfield, I think you'll probably see a little bit more for Blake Perkins and the Milwaukee Brewers. We end with this comment, Not a Whale, over on YouTube. What a fantastic name there, Not a Whale. But he said, hopes Peralta keeps dominating tomorrow night. And yes, the Brewers will look for win number 9 tomorrow night out there in LA. And regardless, we'll be talking about it right here over on the Locked On Brewers postcast show. My name is Brandon Snide. My thanks to all of you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I could not do this show without the support of each and every one of you. So I thank you. I'm glad to be back in the second half of the Brewers season here following the All-Star break. And what better way to begin than a Quinn Priester dominant performance, a Caleb Durbin RBI show carrying the Brewers offensively. Now 17 games over 500, 57-40 on the season. Their 8-game winning streak. We mentioned Jackson Churrio's got the 12-game hitting streak. Outside of Sal Frelick, they're starting to get healthy, so we'll see going forward what happens for your Milwaukee Brewers in Game 2 out there in LA. We'll talk about it following the last out in that game. Again, my name is Brandon Snide. You can follow me on X at Brandon_Snide. And remember, wherever you get podcasts, you can get this very show. Apple, Google, Spotify, all those terrific podcast apps. Just go to the search bar, type in Locked On Brewers, as well as over on YouTube. Type in Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, get notified when we go live, and we'll go live tomorrow after the Brewers and Dodgers in Game 2. As always, certainly feels really good after you've won 8 in a row, but win, lose, or draw. Guys, like we always say, it is always go Brewers. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.